Our guest this week is a true television icon. He played one of the most memorable and popular roles of a generation. And he just received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame this past January.
And you know what? In addition to that, he's known to millions of fans around the world as the original Boy Wonder and known to thousands of dogs as the man who saved them. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, the original Robin from Batman and Robin, Burt Ward. Burt, welcome to the show.
Hello, citizens.
You know, I lived in New York City, so I kind of feel like I was in Gotham City.
Absolutely. That is Gotham City, is New York.
Right. All right, Burt, we're gonna take a walk back for just a moment. When you were a young aspiring actor, you got this audition for the role of Robin. It had to be really competitive. I'm sure that the competition was pretty stiff. What was that process like, and how did you find out you got the role?
Okay, in a nutshell, just to give you an idea, there were 1,100 young actors that were interviewed for the role. I was going to UCLA studying acting and also studying professionally, but I hadn't done anything. And on the weekends, I was working for my father, helping him sell houses because he was in real estate. And I was working at a house that a producer came by, and he ended up buying the house. And I got to be a bit friendly with him. And I asked him if he could help me. And I did a scene for him. He said, "Oh, that's really good." And I said, "Is there anything you could do to help me? I would really appreciate it." He said, "Let me send you to an agent." So he sent me to an agent. And the first thing the agent said to me is, "Listen, I can't get my actors work, the ones I got. Don't expect to work for a year. I never would have taken you if it hadn't been for this producer asking me to do it. So if you get anything, it'll probably be one line." I said, "Okay, all right." You know, kind of takes you down a notch or two, right? So a couple weeks go by and I get a phone call from someone in his office and says, "There's something going on over tomorrow at 20th Century Fox. We have a pass for you to go on the lot at 3:30 in the afternoon. Go to a certain bungalow and you're going to see a casting director." I said, "Oh, well, what is it about?" "Well, we don't know. We heard that they're looking for young guys." Says, "Okay." So the next day I went there and I went to see the casting director. He didn't mention what it was. He talked to me for a couple of minutes and said, "Would you like to meet the executive producer?" I said, "Sure." I figured everybody got to meet the executive producer. Well, actually, that's not true. But I went in and I met William Dozier, the executive producer, and I walked up to him, and maybe because I hadn't been rejected before, I was kind of very open. I just shook his hand and said, "Hello, sir." And I think he was taken aback a little bit by my friendly aggressiveness. And he said to me, "You're kind of big for this part." And I said, "Oh, but sir, I promise you, I won't grow anymore." And he kind of laughed. He said, "Would you like to do a screen test?" I said, "Sure." I figured everybody got to do a screen test. Well, that's not true either. So it was arranged for me to do a screen test. Again, I had no idea what it was whatsoever. I went to the studio, and as part of the screen test, they wanted to see some of the martial arts. I had started studying martial arts and actually had become a brown belt in karate. So I did some stuff with martial arts and stuff. And then I did a scene where it just said on the script, Bruce and Dick. Didn't say Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, didn't say Batman, just a single piece of paper with a couple of paragraphs, Bruce and Dick. I was introduced to Adam West. I sat down with him about 15 minutes before the screen test, and in the 5 minutes, the two of us were laughing. We never stopped laughing for more than 50 years. Became instant best friends. Just really unusual because that normally doesn't happen. We did the screen test, Bruce and Dick. I said, "Well, thank you." And I started to leave. They said, wait a minute. We're not done with you yet. We want you to go over to the other side of this sound stage. We have 2 wardrobe men there. They're going to help you get into an outfit. And I said, "Well, no disrespect, but I'm perfectly capable of dressing myself." They said, No, you don't know. You just go over there. They're waiting for you, and you come back. I go over there. I see a little trailer. I go in. There's 2 guys and all this stuff on it looks like a big a couch or something. And I said, "Am I going to put some of this on?" They said, "No, you're going to put all of it on." I said, "What?" I put on this stuff, most uncomfortable thing in my entire life. I could hardly move. I could hardly see because of the mask. And as I started to stumble out of the trailer, I turned to them, because I'm a positive person. I said, you know, the good news here is that after another 15 or 20 minutes, I'll never have to put this thing on again. Famous last words. Did the screen test. I still didn't know it was Robin. I thought it was some Shakespearean thing. And there, Adam in this cowl. You see, where I grew up, there were Superman comic books. There were no Batman comic books. So I never heard of Batman and Robin. And then afterwards, and I still didn't know after I left, I waited 6 weeks. And after the second week, once a week, I would get a phone call from the studio. Oh, what's your shoe size? Oh, well, it's 7.5. What's your hat size? Well, I never wore a hat in my life. Well, go get your head measured. Well, where do I go to get my head measured? You know, I mean, you have to understand that very simple things that I was having a hard time complying with. Anyway, it was 6 weeks later, and these agents who had never talked to me since then called me and they said, come on in, we're going to sign contracts. I said, great. Oh, now I'm going to be formally represented by an agent. So I went there, sat down, and I looked at the contracts. It didn't say the agency. It said 20th Century Fox. I said, well, what's this? They said, well, those are your studio contracts. I said, you mean I got the part? They said, sure. Didn't the studio tell you? I said, no. And it turns out the studio thought the agents told me. The agents thought the studio told me. I had the part for 4 of the 6 weeks, and I didn't know it.
Oh, my God.
That's the story.
Wow.
He actually lost family in that fire. Family that he loved as near and dear as you all loved your family. I plan to give you a vastly different story than the prosecution might wish you to believe.
We've had more than our fair share of talented and incredibly versatile guests on our show. And tonight, we get to add another guest to that list.
You know him as Ralph Malph on the hit TV series Happy Days, but our guest tonight is so much more. He's an accomplished singer, director, and of course, actor. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill show, Don Most. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rosie and Bill. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, as always. And we're just going to jump right into kind of where you are now. I know you're doing a lot of on-screen work. You're doing in the studio work. So tell us about this latest film you just released last month, Lost Heart.
I'm really excited about this movie. It was, I shot this about almost a year ago in Western Michigan with a wonderful production company called Collective Development. My second film with them. I did one called Man's Best Friend, which is on Amazon Prime right now. And I had such a good experience that when they asked me to do a second one, I jumped. And it's a comedy drama, a lot of heart, and a little bit of mystery to it. I think people really enjoy it. I play a small town pastor, so it's a very different role from what people, if they only know me from Happy Days, they would see a big difference. And that's what I enjoyed, playing a lot of different kinds of roles. And it's going to be released on Courage TV for the world premiere. So you can go to their website and subscribe for free. But I'm really excited, and I hope people tune in for it. I saw the movie. It's a really beautiful film.
Well, we're excited to see it. It sounds like you got to flex some of your acting muscles.
Yeah, it was a very, the one I did last year, Man's Best Friend, I play a defense attorney defending a wounded vet. It was a pretty heavy film, and, I got some strong scenes, and it was great. This one was a different challenge because I'm coming from a very, not an aggressive sort of vibe, where a lawyer might be. He's somebody who's really trying to help the lead character in this movie, and he's trying to find his way in to help her. And so there's a lot of patience and understanding and unconditional love, so to speak. So quite different. Who's to say how God reveals himself?
What? With lights in the sky? That it?
If she repents, will God forgive her?
Well, of course. He's forgiven worse than that, right?
Pops must be very happy in heaven
Yeah, why is that?
because you came back.
Check it out. People should check it out and see what they think.
Well, and Don, I have to tell you, I've seen the trailer for it, and I know you just mentioned a moment ago that this is the second time you're working with this group. And truth be told, just last night, I watched Man's Best Friend on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
And I was so blown away by everyone and everything in that movie. And you were fantastic, like you said, playing that attorney.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I noticed some of the same folks are in Lost Heart.
Yes. Yes.
And just, I think anyone, especially if you're a dog lover,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was, oof, I
It's
got to
pretty-
tell you, it's
Pretty
unreal.
yeah, it gets pretty powerful, that film, and not too many dry eyes in the crowd when I went to see the premiere at a theater. People really responded to it. It's very emotional, and yeah, it's surprising film. And yeah, like you said, same people, because it's a great group. It's called Collective Development, and it's a group of people that formed this company, and they do all their films together. They'll bring in other people, but it's almost like a repertory company of their actors, and one film, this one will get a bigger part, and the others will have supporting roles. The next film, the other one will have a bigger. It's really, like a repertory company and on film, and talented people behind the camera. So I hope to do a lot more with them. I was just really excited to be part of their family, and I'm glad you got to see Man's Best Friend before this interview, so you have a bit of a taste of what that was all about.
Yeah, and you and Rosie had just talked about a couple minutes ago, just doing these things, outside of, or kind of a departure from what people might be used to seeing you as. And I just was, like I said, the entire cast, but I thought the role that you played was fantastic. And you're right about that. I'm not going to give anything away, but the dry eyes, I mean, and I'm a big fan of action movies. I don't venture out of that genre very often.
Oh, really?
But I'm glad I did last night.
Oh, good.
It was definitely worth it. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, great. Thank you very much.
Sure. And another piece that I wanted to bring up and talk about a little bit, which I also happened to see recently, is what you did with your former co-star from Happy Days, Anson Williams, Harvest Time.
Yes,
that was another different role for you. And talk to us a little bit about that, because that was a powerful 25 or 30 minutes, whatever it was. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I loved that project. A producer came to Anson and I, it was a couple of years ago, with an idea to do an anthology series where you'd bring two well-known actors together that from a certain show, whether it be a sitcom or a drama, and they have great chemistry together. And his vision was, I bet you that chemistry is going to continue even if you put them in something very different. And it'll be fun to see them in something completely different. And he wanted us to do the pilot. And and there was a wonderful playwright that he knows in New York, Fred Stroppel, that had all these great one-act plays. So they're just, for the most part, two actors in one location for like 20, 30 minutes, go straight, no, in real time, you're just staying with them. And we picked one of the scripts. They were all good. And it was very different because we play brothers, Anson and I, but his character, he's on dialysis machine at home. He'll die if he doesn't get a kidney. And then I'm his brother, and I promised him my kidney, one of my kidneys. And then there's a big curveball that, people, I'm not going to say, but it's kind of like a David Mamet meets Neil Simon kind of play. It's dark comedy, and it gets a little dramatic. And it was a great acting exercise for the two of us. Like you said, for 25, 30 minutes, I mean, it's nonstop, and it's back and forth, and the dynamics shift. And it was really well written, and it was a great vehicle for acting. And it was a blast. people should check that out too.